Hey, real quick, I know mental health is complicated and overwhelming, but MedCircle can make your next step an easy one. When you go to MedCircle, you'll get simple explanations and actionable advice on the mental health topics that matter to you and those that you love. Visit medcircle.com and start your mental health journey right now. We live in a world more connected than ever, yet we are more lonely than ever. But what is loneliness exactly, and why is it so pervasive today? Here to answer those questions, Dr. Varma. Let's start with the first one. What is loneliness?
Loneliness is a subjective feeling of feeling that people are not with you, that people don't understand you, that you don't feel connected, that you are alone. And what's interesting is that loneliness is different from social isolation. Somebody can have a wide network of people around them in their life and still feel lonely. And in fact, most of the people who say that they feel lonely are married and live with other people. But it's the quality of those relationships that's really key. On the other hand, you can have somebody who is not surrounded by a lot of people and prefers to be that way and still not feel lonely. So there really is a subjective quality, and I'm glad that we're teasing these two things apart, loneliness versus social isolation.
I absolutely socially isolate, and I've talked about that in our anxiety series with Dr. Ramani. But it's a choice, and there is some benefit that I receive from it.
Yes.
Because I don't want to be around people all the time.
Exactly.
But there are some people who are around people all the time,
Yes.
and they're still lonely.
Yes, yes.
So what are those people to do?
You know, it has to do with the quality of the interaction. So first of all, a lot of people will say that their interactions these days is online. So when you're talking about the social connectedness that we feel, they're not in real life. So that's number one. Number two is when you are connecting with people, are you making yourself vulnerable? Are these people that you would share the lows of your life with? So everybody's on social media with their highlight reel of everything that's going on perfectly in their life, right? But who wants to talk about the imperfections? Are you willing to share your imperfections? So that means on some level you have to bare your soul, and are you willing to do that? And as a result, is the person that you're doing this with willing to receive it? One of these most beautiful quotes that I've heard recently by the Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh, he says, compassionate listening is giving permission to the other person to empty their heart.
I know exactly who you're talking about and what you're talking about.
Wonderful.
Fantastic. But will you say that again so people really get that?
Compassionate listening is giving the other person permission to empty what is in their heart.
I mean, if you don't get that, you've got to get that. To be a compassionate listener. I love that. How do we become that compassionate listener?
So compassion is empathy in action.
Compassion is empathy in action.
Yes,
okay?
and I'll explain what I mean. And empathy is the gateway to compassion.
Okay.
So it's not enough to be empathic. Empathy is necessary, but not sufficient. So being able to feel with somebody else, right, from your own frame of reference. So if you're suffering, Kyle, I want to be able to understand your suffering through my lens. What would that feel like? What Kyle's going through, what would that feel like for me? And that's a way for me to relate to you. But I would want to go one step further to say, how can I help Kyle as a result of this, right? Like, I want to do something actionable. And we don't realize, but listening is an action step. Listening without judgment, without filters, right? Without wanting to impose our own point of view onto somebody else. I don't want to change you. In compassionate listening, I want to be with you. I want to be in your presence. I want to be able to receive what you have to say and give you space, give you a container in which you get to dump, if you will, unload what you're experiencing.
Is being a compassionate listener a privilege? Become a MedCircle member and get the answer to this question and more in our next episode.